Life's in that season of change, that season of peace, allow us to just take a moment to close our eyes, take that breath, and smile. Smile knowing that as things change, the one thing that always is constant is the love of God. And so we come here in this place, on this day, allowing our hearts to remain open as we celebrate that oneness, as we recognize all that we can achieve through that oneness. And so we just allow ourselves to remain open, take that which is ours to receive, and be at peace with the rest. And so it is.
So it is.
We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges all peoples and all faiths that come from the universal presence that we call spirit. Doing things a little bit differently since we are in the season of peace. This week we are focusing on the Muslim. And that being said, we've got our candle lighter, which is Anne. Thank you for stepping on up. So the prayer for peace that I have today. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, praise be to the Lord of the universe, who has created us and made us into tribes and nations that we may know each other, not that we may despise each other. If the enemy incline towards peace, do thou also incline towards peace, and trust God, for the Lord is the one that heareth and knoweth all things. And the servants of God, most gracious are those who walk on earth in humility, and when we address them, we say peace. And as always, we have our healing candle of love. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of any person or situation that you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. And now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. And as we continue our purpose statement, join me from home, join me from the audience. We start with our purpose, which is our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Yes. And our vision. What do we want to create or become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. And our mission. How are we going to do this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. Yes, I love that. And today, our sacred reading comes from 7,000 Ways to Listen by Mark Nepo. The journey truly begins when we lose possession of what we thought were the answers and are left to accept that we are not in control. Anyone who has lived through loss and been shaken of their grip will admit that beyond every answer waits a larger question, and beyond every arrival waits an unforeseen beginning. Being lost on the inner plane can be understood as a disorientation that is necessary as we are thrust from what we think we know into the vibrant field of all we do not know. This is how being lost can be a prelude to a deeper way. Because once we admit that we are not sure where life is taking us, then we are ripe for transformation. Then we are shapeable. Thank you.
My mind is the game I can create.
Good morning, and first of all, thank you for patiently waiting for us as we allowed the perfection of God to be revealed in this place. And my name is Stevie. As you know, I'm one of the many licensed practitioners here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. I want to start off by reminding that we are here to pray, and it looks different these days, which is okay because it's still perfect. Many ways that you can receive that prayer support. Go online, you can call. And if you happen to know a practitioner, reach out because we are here for you. Other than that, great news. There is still plenty of time to register for classes, and in that light of spiritual transformation that we teach here at the center, you have many opportunities to say yes. So, that being said, foundations. This class is a huge deal. Like, you don't want to miss it. And the dates did change. So putting it on everybody's radar. The new dates are going to be on Thursday night. So Thursdays, it's via Zoom. So it's easy to take from your own home, the center of your own space, which is great. And we've got great facilitators, a dynamic duo. I said this before, but Bob teaming up with Kaleem, that's going to be pretty amazing. And again, you can still register. So that's going to be starting on March 18th, and that's going to be going through June 3rd. So you still have plenty of time. Other than that, we also have Revealing Wholeness, which is going to be another class we are offering, and those will be Tuesday nights. So you could honestly take both if you were really feeling inclined to. So that's going to be starting March 9th, so coming up a little bit sooner. And we have licensed practitioner Tony Shannon who will be leading that. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be another great one. And other than that, for announcements today, we've got our annual business meeting that will be coming up, and that's going to be Sunday, April 25th. So mark your calendars for that. And if you are interested in that, then make sure to check in with a practitioner or Reverend Don himself, which on that note, after our special music, is going to be delivering a really great message on living in the question. Make you a little curious? Stay tuned.
Now it's time to start.
That was amazing, Jessica. Thank you so very, very much. And Aaron, what a perfect song to have before the talk. You do a wonderful job, and you two together make an amazing team. Thank you so very, very much. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, and thank you for inviting us into your home on this beautiful day. It is indeed an honor to be with you. Our theme for the month of March is Open to Possibilities. And as I mulled that over, I came up with the theme for today being the spiritual practice of visioning. Now, at our center, we embrace a suite of spiritual practices, many of which are common to all religions, different times, different things, but they're common to everything. Prayer, for example. One of our core activities is prayer. And that is common to so many different religions. Also, meditation. One of our core practices, meditation, is common to many religions. Now, another core value or practice that we have is that of visioning. That is a practice that is not quite so ubiquitous. It is not embraced by every religion throughout time. But it is unique and it is powerful. I tend to think of visioning, we think of prayer, at least I do, think of prayer as talking with God, and visioning as listening to God. At our center, visioning is one of our core practices. We have a vision core, which meets monthly, and that's at a minimum. If we have a need for visioning at a different time, we will meet mid-month. We will meet weekly if we need to. And Stevie, our practitioner of the day, is the head of our Vision Corps. She is the Vision Corps coordinator. And she, along with Cynthia George, do all of the heavy lifting. The rest of us kind of just sit there and vision, and it's pretty easy for the rest of us. In addition, we have a group headed by practitioners, and I think it's Christina and Cindy Hensley, and I'm not sure who else, that vision monthly via telephone. It's open to everyone to vision for inner peace, for peace within your own life. And they do this all year, not just during the season of peace. Every activity that we do at this center is grounded in the spiritual practice of visioning. Every project, every endeavor, every class we do, and for those of you that are wondering, yes, we have visioned on Spirit's highest ideal for what's going to happen when we come back together, which I have reason to believe is getting closer and closer and closer. We may be moving in a little slowly, but the time is coming very soon when we will be all back together. And we have grounded that in the spiritual practice of visioning. So exactly what is visioning? Today I'm going to talk about three aspects of that. First of all, I'm going to talk about visioning versus visualization. Then I'm going to talk about curiosity. And finally, I'll talk about our collective evolution. We start off, though, with this difference between visioning and visualization. Visualization is another useful tool in our giant toolbox of spiritual practices that we can use. And in the process of visualization, it is very often ego-driven. It is finite because it is based on our life experiences. It's useful in affirmative prayer in that it allows us to create the mental mold of the idea of what we are praying for. It allows us to see perfect health. It allows us to see prosperity and abundance. It is a mental equivalent of our desires, as opposed to visioning. Not visualization, but visioning itself. In visioning, it is always spirit-driven, never ego-driven, only spirit-driven. And it is infinite. The sea of possibilities is infinite. It can be likened more to the inner knowingness that we have in intuition and in instinct, rather than in something that we have that's out of our own brains. Ernest Holmes had a good quote, and he wasn't addressing visioning as such, but this is what he had to say. Through spiritual discernment, we see that we have within us a power which is greater than anything we shall ever contact, a power that can overcome every obstacle in our experience. That power that he's talking about is the infinite creative power of the divine. And it is already within us. And this spiritual discernment that he is talking about here is that process of visioning. Also, James Allen, in his book As a Man Thinketh, says, your vision is the promise of what you shall be one day. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. Dreams or visions are the seedlings of realities. So it is in this process of visioning that we uncover that which can be. Visioning requires no special training or any special talents are required. It is just what it is. And like I say, we can just sit there and be in this process of visioning. How does it work? Well, we start off by creating a very meditative state. And that's why our song this morning was so absolutely perfect, because we enter into that place that is quiet but active in our minds. And we ask ourselves a series of questions. Now, if we're visioning for something in our own life, we might ask a question something like, what is Spirit's highest vision of itself as me? Or we might ask, what is Spirit's highest idea as my life? And then we ask other questions. We might ask, what must I embrace? What must I release? And the person that's guiding the visioning leads us through these questions, and we feel the answers. And we're sometimes invited to use all of our earthly senses. We can ask, what does this look like? What does this feel like, or taste like, or smell? What does this sound like? And we use all of our senses to get a feeling of this, and we allow that divine current to enter into our consciousness. An example of this, many, many years ago, I think this was 2003, I was a member of the National Vision Corps, and we would meet every month and vision. We would meet over the telephone, and we would vision on 3-4 different topics every month. We were doing it on a national scale. And I remember it was the second month I was on that one of the topics came up, and it was, what is Spirit's highest ideal for our new headquarters location? I didn't even know we were going to move, but evidently we had been looking. And I think that the collective consciousness of the United Centers, at that time we were still the United Church of Religious Science, I think that the consciousness then was that we were going to move somewhere within L.A. I mean, our headquarters was in L.A., and I think it was kind of thinking, well, we're going to move to some place where the rent is lower, where the cost of operating the building would be lower. We would get some cost out by this move, but we were going to remain in Southern California. But we visioned, and we visioned month after month after month, and we visioned on Spirit's highest ideal for our new headquarters home. And I won't forget that first month, as I sat in the silence, I got a powerful visual, and it was beautiful mountains. They were somewhat in the distance, snow-capped peaks, just very, very beautiful. And as we went around and reported in to each other what our inspirations had been during this visioning session, I reported that, and I think there were 9 people on the call that day visioning, and I think 5 of us had a vision of snow-capped peaks and mountains. We continued to vision, and I got that inspiration more than once. Fast forward 10 years, the decision was made, and instead of staying in Southern California, our headquarters moved to Colorado. Not only my home state, but to Golden, Colorado, my hometown. And I was in ministerial school. We were on some kind of a project, I don't know what, but we went up to Genesee Mountain, where headquarters is at, and we got a tour of the home office. And as we were touring, I got to go into Ken Gordon's office, the head guy's office, and of course he's got the big corner office with big windows looking out all over the Continental Divide. And I looked into that, and oh, there were those peaks, snow-capped in the distance, directly out of my vision. 10 years earlier. We don't know, and we don't put any attachment to the visions that we receive, but they are the seedlings of the reality that follows. My second point today is curiosity. I want to talk a little bit about curiosity, and as I pondered on how to talk about curiosity today in terms of the visioning process, things just weren't coming together, and I wasn't getting much of an inspiration. And I thought, wow, see if Ann wants to take the dog and we'll go for a walk. And so we went out to our favorite place to walk the dog, and as soon as Joy hit the ground, that's our dog's name for those of you that don't know, she took off, as she always does. And she's run from place to place to place. Her nose on the ground. She sniff. Absolute curiosity. Who is here? Who is there? Who left that? What is that? And using all of her senses. She hears the squirrel. Oh, squirrel. Where's the squirrel? Where's the squirrel? It's just a blur of activity. And that dog is just back and forth and up the trail and back in constant curiosity. And that's just what the visioning process is like. Rather than just sitting there like a stump on a log, rather than it is an experience of curiosity. What is Spirit's highest ideal for this activity that we are contemplating? With a curious nature to it. There aren't any lightning bolts that come out of the sky. There's no big booming James Earl Jones voice that's going to tell you. There's no burning bushes. It's just a feeling. It is utilizing all of our five senses and coming together. It can be an odor. It can be anything. Now, I don't get odors very much, but I get a lot of visuals, and sometimes I'll get individual words. And it's amazing how many times, if we have 5 or 6 people on our visioning call, visioning Zoom group, we'll have 3 or 4 come up with really similar things. This is the impress of that infinite Spirit into our individual finite minds. This is the planting of those seedlings of our soon-to-be reality. When we do this, we open ourselves up to an infinite field of quantum possibilities, an infinite field of what could be. A third point is collective evolution. At our centers, we have a thing called the Global Heart Vision. And I was looking through the Global Heart Vision, and I came across a line that really meant something to me. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. A world in which we're individually and collectively called to a higher state of consciousness and action. So as we, as a society, as we as a group of people, as we as a spiritual community come together and we can enter into that place, we can allow that divine current to flow through us. We can allow inspiration from that which is greater. We can get inspiration from something that is so much more powerful than we are. The entire species is capable of growth and expansion if we only take time to listen. If we only take time to listen. The conclusion today, the thing that I want you to take away, rather than wrap this up in a bow, I'm going to challenge you, because I want to recite a small section. It's an excerpt of The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. And as I read this, I see our spiritual community, our larger Anchorage community, the state of Alaska, our country, our world moving into a place where we can receive that divine inspiration. So, from The Hill We Climb. And so we lift our gaze not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know how to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew. Even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we will forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. And so it is from that place of our awareness of our connection to one another, awareness of our connection to a power that is far greater than we are, that I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in holding our congregation, our city, our state, our nation, our world in love and light. And it is out of this awareness that we recognize that there is indeed a magnificent power, and that magnificent power is continually and forever working through us to create a more perfect world. So I just speak my word now for those who are experiencing health challenges. We just simply know that there is an infinite power that is behind all of everything, and that infinite power is helping us to move through pandemic, to move through disease, to move through all other health concerns. And at the end of this light, there is perfection. Freedom from dis-ease, freedom from pain, freedom. I speak my word for those who are experiencing lack and limitation, for those who have suffered from this pandemic and perhaps loss of job, loss of income. We simply know that we live in an infinite world. We live in a world that is so rich. This is a prosperous world. We just know that as we open ourselves up, that prosperity is distributed among people. I speak my word for those who are feeling isolated during this time of pandemic, when we're hunkered down, we're separate from one another, we can't even meet on Sundays. For those of you who long for a hug, who long to say hello to someone else, we just simply know that each and every one of us are magnificent children of the Most High. Each and every one of us are that expression of a higher power. And we can never be separated from that higher power, because we are part of that higher power. We are part of that infinite creative force. And as such, we are connected with one another. It can never be broken. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks for the love that connects all of us together. We give thanks for the peace, prosperity, health. And now it is only up for us to step back and allow that divine current to flow through us. For we have accepted and implanted those seeds that have created our reality. So we just give thanks, we let it go, we let it be, and so it is. Not paying attention here today. Thank you. This is a time in our service when we are afforded the opportunity to participate in another one of our spiritual practices, and that is the practice of circulation. And even though we aren't here to pass a basket and do all of those kinds of things, our community has stepped forward in support of this center in ways that are so amazing. Our ACSL Sunday services is down very, very slightly from last year. And yet we've been able to contract our expenses. So as a spiritual community, we have been able to stay in good shape financially, and it's due to each and every one of you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And it's that law of circulation. We are giving and we are receiving. So, if you want to join me in our affirmation today, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. Recognize some of the people online today with us that made it through that 8-minute delay in the beginning. Facebook throwing us curves. Ed Bauman, thank you for joining us today. Reverend Linda, Barb Burton, Chloe, Barb Taylor, Judy Wolf, Sam, Keith Montgomery, Lyndon Marion, Joan, Kim and Dave Stoltz, Pat Steig, Blaze Bell. Thank you all for watching today. And the basket. It's time for the basket. Okay. What affirmation did I draw? My presence is my power.
I am remembering who I am.
as we prepare to go our separate ways, let us remember to take that time to talk to God and surrender our hearts in order to listen. As extensions of the divine, allow us to create the mental mold of Spirit's highest desires by first asking the question. Let us uncover that which can be by seeing beyond what is, saying yes to the divine current, tapping into that inner doggo-like curiosity. We receive the impress and we water the seedlings of the infinite. And so it is. And our affirmation for today, I ask the question.
I ask the question.
I listen with an open heart.
I listen with an open heart.
And so it is.
And so it is. There was a time in my life I thought I'd have to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.